EO.
I think it's paper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for coming to tonight's special town board meeting. This is the Town of East Troy's special town board meeting on March 18, 2025 at 7 p.m. We have a amended agenda, so you should be looking at an amended agenda. All items listed are up for discussion, consideration, deliberation, and possible formal action. First item on our agenda is call to order, which I've done. And second is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Roll call.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Roll call. Church here.
Leonard here.
Ray is here.
John are here.
Wales here.
Real fast.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Buchanan, have we met certification of compliance of open meeting law?
Yes, we have.
Thank you so much for doing that. Item number 4, discussion and possible approval of Lynch proposal for Beulah Heights culvert repair. Could you advance the slides? Thank you. All right, a couple weeks ago, what was it, 2 weeks ago? We were notified by Craig Webster of the DNR that the Beulah Heights culvert had reached a quasi-emergency status, which requires us to take action and make some repairs. In order to do this, we have approached Lynch, the engineering firm in McWanago, I believe, that's where they're at, right? Burlington, to help create a proposal for us to fix this culvert. We have in your box, or I think we emailed it to all of the board members, a proposal from Lynch. And this is just the proposal for them to design a repair for the bridge, or for the culvert.
Yeah, and to contact and do surveying and soil borings, and we've worked with Lynch for years. The village is contracted with them for all their engineering over. They're really quick at getting back to us all the time when we have an emergency arise, kind of like this. It's not gonna be cheap. I met with them more than once. I met with them yesterday. They got somewhat of a proposal, because the culvert itself is 78 years old. When we looked at this in the last 2 years, we were gonna spend like $35,000 on it this year for a Band-Aid before the big part of it blew out. So now it's beyond repair, it's time for replacement. And they, instead of spending, roughly they said $100,000 on each side to just fix the head wall, with the age of the culvert being 78 years old, they recommend replacing it. That would be acquiring a temporary easement through a couple of properties, putting in a one-lane road, temporary road, to replace the entire culvert. Culvert length right now is approximately 26 feet. The road is 20 feet, so there's only 83 foot on each side before it drops off to the water. Their recommendation is going to be almost a 60-foot culvert. No head walls with a naturally sloped grass and stone, so they wouldn't have to worry about a failure for head wall. So they're gonna do a lot of the legwork for all of that, but they couldn't even hazard me a guess on the price.
Did they have an estimate as to how long that would take to repair?
They're saying for because it's just a culvert, it's really not a bridge.
Right.
They said a month to 6 weeks, and preferably starting sometime after Labor Day, after most of the boiling season's over, because it will require driving pilings in, drying that all up, so there'll be no water going through, so they can pour footings, set in the culvert.
So
Go ahead.
when you say, are they gonna deter around what's there now then? Is that what you're saying?
The
Like
dam
the
off.
one lane road or whatever?
Yeah, it'd be on the lakeside. Chad knows that there's a little easement right next to that channel that's for the property owners up there. And I don't remember the gentleman's name that just built that new house on, yeah, it'd be just a one lane road around the other side. Weight restrictions, it'd just be a gravel road, no, try and spend as little money as you can just for the 6 weeks that you're
So you're talking right wherever you're putting pylons in and drying it out, you're gonna fill that in with the road and then take that back out,
Yep,
right out of the channel part?
I've been in contact with Craig Webster from the DNR, for their permits and talking to them to get the rubble that has rolled in there out. We got that scheduled right now, it's Saturday, May 29th. He's got like 10 guys through the DNR. We just gotta supply equipment, such as the backhoe, so they can, because we can't disturb the bottom digging. So they're actually gonna have guys in waders or wetsuits or whatever to help roll rocks into the bucket of their backhoe and then get them out of there. Because a lot of them did kind of roll into that, so we can impede boat traffic going through that culvert.
And we have to keep Mr. Webster informed because the DNR has put us on notice that this is a quasi-emergency, so.
So maybe I'm not following, but you said we're not gonna do the work until after Labor Day.
Correct.
So what's the
Barring any
temporary?
major failure.
You're just
So-
leaving it the way it is until
As
then?
of right now, we got it sandbagged off, trying to divert the water coming down the hill to get around where, so it doesn't wash that part of the road up. Once asphalt plants are back up and running, we're actually gonna put a curb in there to keep the water from coming over. That's, I mean, because right there, you only got like 3 feet from the edge of the road to where it drops off.
And I assume the culvert will remain the same size?
If not a little bit bigger. We have to maintain that roughly, because talking with Mr. Webster, the smallest we could go is 6 inches smaller, which you're not gonna get with the ribbing on a culvert. You'll never get anything to even put inside of that. They talk about sleeving it with a smaller one. He says, you can't go with anything smaller than 6 inches above the diameter is enough. Because
In favor of it being bigger for boaters.
navigable waterway, we have to maintain that navigable water.
I'm in favor of it getting bigger for boaters. And I know a lot of sand washed into there, so it's super shallow right there. It's like, you could barely get your pontoon through there before you scrape the bottom, so.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
right.
sure it's not gonna be like hugely bigger, cause you just don't have room.
Yeah, on
But
page,
that's pretty much. it's like
costs so
the channel is to get them to 16 foot
$30,900,
So
roughly,
17, 18 foot,
Just for the design.
yeah,
it could be elliptical, it could be round.
and that's what we need to
It
approve
could be
tonight.
square, it's whatever, kind of hopefully, they were hoping sometime next week to kind of have somewhat of a plan after we get this signed so we can move forward.
I think, if I can, are they gonna propose maybe a couple different ideas for this, just,
Yeah, there's a company that does quite a bit of this work, I'm trying to remember. I've seen them at different conferences and stuff, that they work a lot with moving water, with culverts
Sure.
and bridges and like that.
just so it's, okay, this is what we recommend, just so we can stay, we're at least able to see a couple options, I'm sure.
Yeah.
A, either functionality, and B is price lines.
Yep.
Also is gonna, I mean, this is a big
This is gonna,
project for
big
for our
project,
township, I mean, it's
Yeah, this is it's
Unexpected,
gonna be a
but-
huge unforeseen expense.
absolutely.
That, I think, when you guys could affect road work for the year also.
and how does the LRIP grant play into that?
This is our year for LRIP, so one of the roads I was gonna use, if we don't do it, we could lose it. Granted, it's not a lot of money, it's usually like $16,000-ish per
Okay.
year. But if we cut back on road work, we don't do any this year, we lose a third of federal funding.
Right,
Next year a third, so you gotta kinda stay on top of it, we gotta do something
right,
versus nothing.
right,
And this doesn't fall into that? We
because
can't
it's
say
a
that
repair.
cash costs.
I wish.
I guess one question that I have, and I don't wanna delay anything here, but I know that we've talked to Lynch. Is there anybody else that we should talk to get, price from?
We could, but
Design.
you're also delaying things. It's just, we worked with them, the village does stuff with them, it was just, here.
I understand,
We need
it's
an
an
idea, like,
emergency,
now.
right, I get it,
And especially because we run the risk of it totally failing.
Right.
And so then we need to be able to move forward even more rapidly, and if we don't have something, we're gonna be definitely behind the eight ball.
We could, all sources, but who knows how long that could take if we get anything back from them also. It's just, as we dealt with them, that's who done a lot of our roads.
Yeah, no, I understand.
It was just a quick, hey,
30,000
I know you guys
is a lot of
need some
money
stuff.
for proposal, for design.
Well, and this 30,000 gets us, are they gonna send out the bids then for the actual construction? or-
So as
The
long as we
sub-
approve what they, oh, I'm sorry,
No,
Michelle.
it says sub-consultant, Intertech, yeah.
As long as we approve what they do, then they'll
Their
hire others.
fees for what they're gonna take care of for
Right.
this project, yeah.
60 feet's a long way.
Yeah, cause he's
I mean, that's a
figuring
long-
extending
that's a
it by
long-
like 20 feet each way.
Yeah, that's a,
Better put some bumpers on that boat.
Yeah,
I had to get some lighting down through there.
Yeah, cause it sits at, it's so high through there, where the water level is, and there's, right now, there's like almost 3 feet of cover over that for weight, so you can carry weight over it.
Mhm.
So by the
Is-
time you get the slope, the 4-to-1 slope that you need, so nothing washes away.
How much wider would it be then?
40 something.
Probably the same.
Same, but just
Yeah.
longer.
Just longer.
Okay, so a little bit wider.
Yeah, they figured somewhere between 15 and 20 feet each way. Longer.
I don't see a timeline in this estimate. I mean, they're
Just
just
hire-
working up till Labor Day, or?
Yeah, 'cause I was just talking with them yesterday, because of fish habitat, no matter what, we couldn't even start this till June 15th. And I'm like, you wanna raise holy, you know what, on the lake, start in the middle of holy season. You're kinda close to the 4th of July. All of you guys just have to be on the chopping block. 50 said yes.
I won't be here.
But
But I would be out there.
but that's why they suggested not till after Labor Day.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the leaf season's over. And a lot less traffic, hopefully, so.
I'm just wondering when we'll have the estimate on the big money, right?
Here, hopefully next week we should have somewhat of an idea
Oh,
of the cost,
a ballpark
of
estimate.
all our costs.
If they approve this.
As long as we approve.
If we approve this time, right.
So,
I guess we're waiting on a motion.
I would entertain a motion. Kim, where's our money gonna come
Anybody
from?
wanna make a motion?
There's no motion.
We're gonna borrow? Okay, okay, just checking.
For the 30,000 too?
Not for the 30, but for the other.
But,
Right.
yeah,
For the-
Right.
the big project.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we don't have to buy a fire truck this year, right?
Not on the agenda, let's get back.
Oh. I'll make a motion to approve Lynch's
The-
proposal for Beulah. We approve the Lynch proposal for Beulah Heights culvert repair.
I'll second.
Hearing a motion from Supervisor Leonard and a second from Supervisor Reyes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Our item number 5, approve committee recommendation on the Beach Road Bridge designer. All right, we narrowed our 9 proposals down to 3. Those included Ayers, Mead and Hunt, and Baxter and Woodman. If you could go to the next slide. Nope, next one, sorry. All right, the reason why this became a special meeting is that last fall, we received a grant, a federal grant for $2.5 million to totally replace the Beach Road Bridge over the East Troy Electric Railroad. Here was the timeline that was laid out. Again, this began January 17th. Proposals were due February 7th, so those are when we received the 9. Proposal review and scored were done on February 27th. We actually did it a day early. And that's when we took the 9 down to 3. On March 3rd, we notified the 3 engineering firms listed, Baxter and Woodman, Ayers, and Mead and Hunt, that they were chosen as the 3 finalists, and asked them to set up a interview date within 2 weeks. I was able to get a 2-day window. Starting on March 12th, we interviewed Baxter and Woodman. On March 13th, we interviewed Ayers. And on March 13th in the afternoon, we interviewed Mead and Hunt. Notification was supposed to take place on March 14th, and we needed to call a special meeting so that the town board could approve the selection committee's decision. Go up one slide. In the review committee, we were given this DOT rating sheet, and these were the components that we were asked to review. Each of the 6 people on the review committee individually filled out this sheet. All of the ratings were totaled. We evaluated on resources available to do the job, the project manager and engineer. We looked at how much time or seniority they had in those positions. We looked at public involvement. The DOT does item 3, which is current variance from a management consultant and workload remaining from the management consultant. So those 2 components we did not respond to. 5 was public involvement. 6, environmental issues. 7, right-of-way and utility issues. 8, knowledge of the job. 9, identify problems that could exist with the job. 10, accommodating public and agency concerns. And 11, schedule. Based on all of those, we totaled up our numbers in each column and added them together to give a rating total for each of the interviews. Then we took a look at everybody's ratings, wrote them out. We actually then went to eliminating the highest rating in each of the totals so that we could get a mean. And the recommendation from the committee went to Ayers.
Is the next slide the scores?
No, I have the sheets if you'd like to take a look at them.
Yeah.
Go up one.
Where do you want me to restrict it?
Up. Nope, down, sorry.
It's okay.
There you go. So that puts us now to approve the selection committee's decision or not, and then we need to notify the companies and begin negotiating the contracts with them. I think that becomes a DOT project after we notify the company.
Yeah, once we're done,
Once we've chosen.
we've chosen the design consultant and engineering, we're pretty much done. Then, because it's a grant, the state takes over and we kind of oversee it, but majority of everything else is handled by the state. As far as timelines, they put all the bids out, they do for the construction companies, it's all handled by them.
They keep the public and the town posted, informed on the project process and the progress. So process and progress after we select a company and negotiate the contract.
I have one question.
Yes.
I was on the committee, but I didn't realize that in the scoring process, the DOT did line item 3 and line item 4. If they notice that the company that we pick has too big of workload, I assume what happens then? We have to
They,
go
they will go to the next highest rated. So,
so we're going with Ayers number 1 and then Mead and Hunt number 2?
Correct.
Does that sound right? Okay.
I think that's how it
Yeah,
went.
And that's one thing too, is if, when the state does their own legwork, if they feel that they can't do the project, they'll go on to the next one, and so forth.
They won't come back to us, they'll just make that decision themselves.
Yeah.
And that would be Jelasik,
Yeah,
Joe Jelasik, from the DOT out of Waukesha, I believe.
Did you see there were 6
Wow.
committee members?
I think
Yes.
it was 5.
No, we had 3 town
6,
board,
yeah.
and then 2 road builders and Todd.
Can I talk for a
Yeah,
minute?
yeah.
Just so, this was the first time I had the opportunity of doing this, and I thought it was really neat that the 5 or 6 of us, I think 6,
6.
when it was all said and done, it really, it worked out pretty, I mean, we were all in the majority for the most part.
Right.
And then when we took out that top,
The highest score.
it still worked out to the company that we came up with. So I thought that was a pretty neat thing to have the opportunity to do myself.
Having the road builders there certainly gave us some information
Sure.
that I'll admit, I've never built a bridge. There were components that maybe I could ask questions of, but I certainly didn't know the whole process. And the road builders certainly coached us and gave us information to be looking for with the engineers. So,
So can you explain why you took out the house one?
I think we were looking for the mean. Isn't the mean when you take out the highest score and look at the totals?
So you
Again.
just do it
I think what we were doing was seeing if the percentage changed at all, and it didn't.
So we originally, before we took the highest one out, added them all together, did the average, then took the highest one out and did it again to see if we still came up with the same answer.
To see if the average changed.
Because everyone scored, it was pretty interesting, like, one person, like, my middle range was in like the 48 to say 55, and another person was like in the 75 to 85, you know, and so I think that's what they were.
It was a good understanding how everybody looked at the presentations and was able to form their own opinions and minds on who they thought was a better proposal.
We all read the proposals, but seeing the presentations by the engineers was vastly different.
And are those available? For those that
Um,
couldn't attend, yeah.
I don't know. We had one on a flash drive,
Yeah, we had a flashlight
Oh.
but I don't know that we have a flash drive for the others because we weren't recording.
We could probably make a call and see if they have one.
But
One
Because
of
they don't have a presentation for that, so I would probably,
the, yeah, I would think they'd normally send it
yeah.
either before or after. So
But-
when I was looking at the score, when we were doing the initial review, one of the things I was looking at, right, were the stage gates that we called out in the
Okay.
proposal. Did that get discussed at all, like as far as, you know, the, I think it was like,
3069.
yeah.
I
There were
don't
some big differences in some of them?
I don't think that was something that we got into. I remember one of them talking in 30, 60, 90, but I can't say that without my notes that we had 30, 60, 90 on every one of them.
I think a couple of them brought it up,
Yeah.
and how they
figured their, I mean, I think they all had it
They
in
hit
the
certain-
PowerPoint.
They hit certain spots and that's like, you know, all right, we're this far into the design at 30%.
Yeah. And there was a big question, because the big holdup with this is, because it's going over a railroad, we were able to kind of squash that, because it's a private entity railroad, it's not a CNN railroad or anything like
So
that.
the maximum height for a business railroad is 23 feet, I believe.
Minimum.
Minimum, yeah. And the electric railroad under the Beach Road Bridge is 18 feet. So I think by reducing it 5 feet made a huge difference
Huge difference.
for all of the engineers.
If we would've had to raise that 5 feet, we would've had we would've had big trouble.
But with them not being a commercial railroad, they normally said right straight out before they'll send everything in for the state, and between the state and railroad companies, they were looking at 3 years before they even heard back from a lot of the
Right.
railroad companies.
Right.
For design process. And with this being a private, they said a lot of this could actually move up. And there was one gentleman, I think he was from Maine Hunt, that worked for DOT doing some of this. He says the only thing is the state has the money allotted for so much for this project this year, so,
They have already spent
yeah.
or allocated money, and that's designated funds that can't manipulate the calendar.
Ours is
I do.
2029.
Right, I do believe errors, if I remember correctly, was the one that said they could possibly move it up to 28.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not an even
Um,
year. Election.
the other thing was, can I?
Yes, please.
The other thing was, we do have to raise it 6 inches, so it is going to, just so everyone knows here, it's going to get into Highway ES, like, we're gonna be doing something with Highway ES, so, just so everyone's understanding that, there's no way of getting around it.
Somehow we're gonna have to work with the county.
Because raising it is gonna push it out, so, just so it's,
They're pretty easy to work with, I think,
the county. Hopefully.
from my interactions, so.
But we are 5 days past the March 14th deadline, and we have $2.5 million on the line.
Yeah, I make a
As
motion.
close to,
So what stuck out about, was there something that stuck out about errors? Chad, you were there, right? Or-
Yeah, no, I mean, from a guy that also doesn't build bridges, it was a big learning experience, there's a lot to take in, but I think that, there's no doubt about it, every one of those companies, in my uneducated opinion on that, is definitely qualified to do it, you know? Yeah, but Ayers did a great job in presentation, I think the resources that they have, the size of their company, I mean, they really did a nice job explaining things. I don't think, again, it's funny when you have a couple people that do that for a living or have, so their scores were in the 70s, as Tyson was saying, like mine were down in 40s and 50s, but I don't really know, you know, what's great and what's not, but by the time it was all said and done, no, I think Ayers was a good choice.
They had the local guy.
But in the scheme of things, it didn't matter if we were in the 40s and 50s and other day.
No,
The percentage
it
worked
doesn't.
out
That's
to
who-
errors. Basically
Advantage.
winning the vote, so to speak.
They were still out.
Yep.
The other thing that I really liked about them was they weren't the biggest and they weren't the smallest, I don't believe. They were like right in the middle. There was a local, place in Waukesha that hopefully there's
well, the engineers
easy to
that,
get talked to and.
the engineer
Right.
that would be doing this is moving to Waukesha. So he would be a local guy, their offices are also in Waukesha, so they have a lot of the resources that could immediately come do the soil borings, the environmental studies. We learned that bats and swallows have to be protected, and so there is a timeline as to when trees can be taken out, and the swallows make the nest underneath the bridge, I guess.
It was I don't think,
Yeah.
hearing some
Bees?
stuff from.
Oh, bees too, yeah.
Bees, yeah.
Ayers had a wonderful public engagement component that I thought was outstanding. They had a plan of how they were going to notify the community, how they were going to keep them posted on the progress. They really took that to heart. They said, it is not a good project if your community is not happy. And we already know there's going to be disruption, so we want to work to minimize any inconvenience. That struck me. The other thing that struck me was their willingness to try and advance the schedule. And they were the one company who seemed to have a vision of what the bridge would be that they were going to be designing. The others sort of talked about different ones, but these guys said, you could do this, you could do that, but we think this would be the best. And it had like a seawall effect, I think. And for not knowing anything about bridge, I learned a lot in 3 interviews, but Ayers was the one who was really dedicated to the community, really, they have a relationship, I believe, previously established with the Electric Railroad. So those were some points that I thought put them, for me, at the top, which is not what I thought I would do after reading the proposals.
Good. I bet it was, very educational.
Yeah,
And so I'm assuming they're gonna have like public meetings and use our
Absolutely.
website.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's all part of the timeline, because we
Yeah.
have that all out, like, meeting with the public, getting
And I think through DOT standards, there's gotta be at least
to public meetings, so.
But like Barb was saying, they were the ones that said, we wanna tie in with your website to make sure that the public knows. And, I can't remember if it was Facebook page, maybe even, like,
Yeah,
that
I
was
think they
one
talked
thing that
about
did stick
both.
out.
Yeah.
That they were willing to make sure that our constituents know what they're gonna be dealing with, detours.
And Kim, I don't know if any of them reached out to you after the interviews, but the only one that reached out and thanked us for the interview was Ayers. So, I was really impressed.
I will make a motion that we go with the committee's recommendation on the Beach Road Bridge designer to be Ayers.
I'll second. Hearing a motion from Supervisor Leonard and a second from Church, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 6, authorize Chairperson Church and DPW Superintendent Shield to notify the DOT of the designer decision in order to continue the Beach Road Bridge replacement process.
I make a motion to authorize Chairwoman Church and DPW Superintendent Shield to notify the DOT of the designer decision.
I'll second.
Hearing a motion from Supervisor Johnner and a second from Supervisor Leonard, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I make a
Motion to adjourn.
I
Do
win.
we need to also notify Ayers?
I'll second.
I will, yeah, that's what the item 6,
That's what we just made a motion on.
that's what the
No, we
6,
notify the DOT
well, and heirs, yeah,
and Ayers.
so,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
I will be notifying.